learn about the French Revolution.
Oh my gosh! What's going on? Look at the pain! Oh my god!
There were three primary causes of the French Revolution. The first one was the long-term famine that was occurring in the nation. Many French families were unable to supply themselves with an adequate amount of food to actually live. The second was discontent with the rulers, specifically being King Louis XIV of France. The reason for the discontent was because the country was in a complete state of economic crisis. The third reason for the cause of the French Revolution was the separation of the different estates into classes, with unfair treatment to the third estate. There were also attempted financial reforms to ease troubles, but these financial reforms actually placed France into deeper crisis.
I am the first estate.
In 1789, the French society used an outdated social system which was known as Ancien Régime, or Old Order. This ancient order would separate or categorize people into three different classes: the first estate, the second estate, and the third estate.
I am the second estate.
Compared to the third estate, the second and first estates lived very well.
I am the third.
While the two upper estates prospered, the third estate was living mostly in poverty and was forced to pay unreasonable price of taxes. At the same time, France was in a state of economic crisis. Due to the economical reforms not working, King Louis XVI called for the Estates General.
I am King Louis.
Many of the cahiers, notebooks given to the three estates to write grievances, demanded fairer taxes, freedom of the press, and regular meetings of the Estates General.
Welcome to the meeting of the Estates General. Now please list your grievances.
My king, there's a famine in the countryside. All the people are dying. There's no food. Objection!
Silence!
I was thinking that maybe we should have the taxes you enforce upon the third estate be split upon the first and second estate. You can actually afford it.
Alright, let's go for it. Who votes for taxes for the first and second estates? Who votes for no taxes? 2 against 1.
Maybe we should do the vote by head instead of by
No.
state. Be gone, peasant!
Due to the stalemates in the voting that took place in the Estate General meetings, the delegates of the third estate took the tennis court oath.
What should we do? He hasn't let us in 3 days. He's not listening to us. We should make a national assembly. Yes! Let's do it right here in this tennis court. It shall be known as the tennis court oath. Yes! We swear to never separate and to speak whatever the circumstances might require until we have established a sound and just constitution.
During 1783, the revolution enters a radical period, where the radicals met together to decide the fate of the monarchy. On September 1792, a radical body met together to establish the French Republic, a new constitution for France, and to execute Louis XVI for being a traitor to France.
Frenchmen, I die innocent. I pardon the authors of my death. I pray God the blood about to be spilled will never fall upon the head of fraud.
Around 1793, France was in a complete mess. At home, two political parties, the Jacobins and the Girondins, divided the National Convention. At the same time, the country was in war with Britain, the Netherlands, Spain, and Prussia. To deal with the troubles at home and surrounding the country, the Committee of Public Safety was created to prepare France for an all-out war. The French army was able to successfully defeat the Netherlands and purge its army into Italy. While the French army was experiencing tremendous success in its feats, Maximilien Robespierre, a Jacobin, fought against the counter-revolutionaries. Robespierre promoted free religion and abolished slavery. A famous quote spoken by Robespierre was, "Liberty cannot be secured unless criminals lose their heads," and he strongly believed that France could only achieve a new revolution by terror only. Hence came along the Reign of Terror, which lasted September 1793 to July 1794. Up to a total of 300,000 people were executed by the guillotine, the engine driving the Reign of Terror. Shortly after the Reign of Terror, a 5-man directory and a 2-house legislature was elected by male citizens of property. However, discontent still resided in the directory. As a result, many turned their heads to Napoleon Bonaparte, a rising French military hero in rankings, and sought him to be the leader of France. By the end of the French Revolution, nationalism was strong in the nation, and many social and religious reforms were made, with the additional remove of the monarchy. A significant outcome of the event was that the French Revolution, though it seemed a failure in 1799 and appeared nullified by 1815, had far-reaching results. The French Revolution led to a dissolution of the French monarchy. It also led to the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte and the expansion of French colonialism. In France, the bourgeois and land-owning classes emerged as the dominant power. Feudalism was dead. Social order and contractual relations were consolidated by the Code Napoleon. The revolution unified France and enhanced the power of the national state. The Revolutionary and Napoleonic Wars tore down the ancient structure of Europe, hastened the advent of nationalism, and inaugurated the era modern total warfare. The revolution also resulted in a new calendar and other minor changes.
Wow, that was interesting. I wonder what would have happened if King Louis wasn't beheaded. A revolution didn't happen and Napoleon didn't come to power.
In an alternate realm where the French Revolution fails, there's a predictable path that follows.
This painting perfectly depicts the failure of the French Revolution. The peasants are all dying. Look at them. They are hungry. It has been this way for so many years after the revolts failed. If only the revolution could have been successful.
First, revolution doesn't spread throughout Europe, and the continent remains in power of the monarchs.
Well guys, Europe is in a pretty bad state. I mean, my country's economy is almost dead. We have no money. Our people is dying. But at least I'm still king. What about you?
Same, except my country's crumbling.
Just completely falling apart.
Yeah, everyone's dying from that.
Yeah, I mean, Europe and monarchies just don't mix, but for some reason, we're still doing it. But that's okay, because we're rich, and that's all that matters. Who cares that our countries are dying?
Exactly.
The economy plunders, and Europe suffers in its failing economy with mass unrest of the people.
Newspaper, unrest. Oh, the monarchy's still in power. I better not be saying this because they may imprison me for talking bad about it, but the economy's plundering. I better get my family out of here before all the peasants die of starvation.
Second, Napoleon would have had a lower chance of taking over the country, and that might have affected the citizens of France.
You got a letter.
Oh, thank you. It is Napoleon Bonaparte again.
Oh
He
my
wants a
God.
higher title.
Doesn't he understand there's no rising and ranking in this society? Just because the people are dying does not mean the monarchy is not working.
True.
The legislature is doing just fine without him, you know. If this country gets Napoleon as a leader, it'll become Bonaparte.
Oh yeah, good one.
Lastly, it would be probable that revolution would eventually break out again due to human nature, and the timeline history would continue, just pushed forward in time.
Wait, what's this?
It's the Treaty of Versailles, signed after the First World War on January 21st, 2300. It was used to negotiate all of the reparations made after the war to ensure peace of a lifetime. Kids, stop! Do you want the next big thing?
What is
It
it?
is a book about the history of time.
Ooh, like what?
It starts with the French Revolution, which happened again in the late 1900s. Then it goes on to talk about the Industrial Revolution and all the wars in the late 2000s. Do you want it?
How much is it?
$3,000.
Oh, I got it! Thank you!
Ugh, it is Bonaparte again.
I am the first estate.
Newspaper. Oh, mercy.
Yeah.
Kids, stop! Do you want to buy the next big thing? It's a book about the history of mankind. What's it about? Stop! What are you doing? It starts off with the French Revolution, which happened again in the 1900s. Then it goes on to the Industrial Revolutions in the 2000s and all the wars in the 2200s. Do you want it?
How much is it?
I got it! So close!